This happened yesterday, where another Palestinian Columbia student, Columbia University student, and who is a green card holder, who has been here for 10 years, Mohsen Mahdawi, he was effectively lured to an Immigration and Customs Service meeting where he thought he would be taking his citizenship test. He's been awaiting this test. And instead, he was taken into ICE custody. This was filmed by his friend. He's coming out of the building. This is in Vermont, I believe. And there he is. He sort of gives a peace sign, and he's being led by folks. At least they seem like they're in some kind of uniform, unlike like the other instances of this, like the roommates of Otzerk and whatnot. So here they are. I mean, this is wild. This is wild. So yeah, his friend is filming him. He doesn't say anything, and they take Mohsen Mahdawi, who, by the way, was fairly public. I mean, he was interviewed, I believe, by 60 Minutes about being a student protester. He was interviewed about standing up to actual anti-Semitism, where someone said death to Jews, and they were all surrounding them and like, get out of here. That's not what our protest is about. Like, sort of, he put himself out there, and here he is. He's being told that there's going to be some sort of, immigration hearing. And I don't know, Kate, like, I want to say, I wish he would have known to stay away, but they are literally using and relying on the tracking they're already doing of green card holders or people who registered through CBP1 or anything else, DACA recipients, to track them down, quite directly the opposite of, say, a hardened criminal who's avoiding any kind of, oversight by immigration services. Maybe just give me your reaction to this kind of entrapment.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a mini success in the case of Mahmoud Khalil, because they were charging him as deportable in his immigration proceeding under this old law. And what it says is that if the Secretary of State has reason to believe that someone's activities could have adverse foreign policy consequences for the U.S., then he can bring a deportability charge against that person. Okay, that's what the charge says. And reason to believe does not mean criminal charges, evidence, probable cause, none of that. And it's real flimsy, and that's why in the case of Khalil, they ended up adding 2 other grounds. They said that they're grounds of inadmissibility, and they said, actually, he also lied on his green card application because he didn't tell us how long he worked with the, UN pro-Palestine agency. But at his court hearing in immigration court, that deportability ground stuck. It survived, scrutiny by the judge. And so that was a small win for them. And they're now going to start applying that to other pro-Palestinian protesters, including people who have no criminal record and who have a green card and are clean enough that they're going in for their citizenship interview. I mean, it's such an obvious attack on free speech. It's like, there's no other way around it. That's exactly what it is.
So the loophole, because yes, the other breaking news is that an immigration court says that Mahmoud Khalil can be deported. And I just want to let's set aside that these are Palestinian men whose homeland is being bombed and terrorized right now by an extremist Israeli government. Like, the idea that you would deport someone to the West Bank, it's so cruel. It's the kinds of jokes we were making before Trump was elected. Like, and he's like, we should send them all back. And it's like, where, dog? To a place that you don't believe that they should even exist, that they're being expelled from systematically by your best friend, Bibi Netanyahu. But anyway, so they were saying that because Khalil didn't divulge or was incorrect about how many months he worked with the UN, that he's deportable.
Yeah, they said that therefore he committed fraud on his green card application because he didn't include that full length of time. And so he shouldn't have been granted his green card in the first place. But as I understand it, I don't represent him, but as I understand it, that it was actually the deportability ground around the foreign policy stuff that got him, not the ground of inadmissibility.
Right.
Which means, oh, okay, it worked for him. Let's start applying that elsewhere, is the way that they're going to start using it. And of course, I think people know by now, coming into the airport is risky business for anyone, especially who's not a U.S. citizen. If you got a visa, temporary status, then you can be denied entry at the border. If you have a green card, you technically can't be denied entry, but you can be detained.
Mm-hmm.
And that is occurring. The thing that also takes all of this over the top now is the way they're just plucking people off the streets who have no criminal history, like Khalil, and like this man, I don't know his name, who was at a citizenship interview. I mean, I don't
Mahdawi.
know him, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but if he's applying for citizenship, in order to apply, you have to have good moral character for the last 5 years, which
Right.
means no arrest. So that tells me enough to know he doesn't have a criminal history.
Well, and it's funny because, I mean, it's not funny, but like, Columbia University still denied $2 billion in federal funding, despite all of their students now being rounded up. He's called his detention a kind of death sentence. He was friends with Mahmoud Khalil. He was detained, his attorney says, for no other reason than his Palestinian identity. Yeah, and like I said, he has been outspoken. He's like, again, he's shown his face. He's been on 60 Minutes. He's like talked about why they're protesting. He's been very forthright with it, and also law abiding and here for 10 years. So it is just so brazen and disgusting and so racist. Like, it's so racist. I need everyone to, like, understand who they're coming after first. There is no mistaking it. I also want to just ask you, Kate, before I let you go, about like, what is, if they did want to just like deport, people who have green cards, is there a more, I know this seems like a little bit crass, but like, is there a humane way to do this rather than just like picking them up without a warning? When you get deportation order, how much advance notice do you then, do you get to say goodbye to people? Like, what could be the right way to do this authoritarianism? And I say right, even though I do not agree with it, but do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
the way they're going about it is also so cruel.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely for shock value. I mean, they could place people in removal proceedings by issuing them a document. It's a notice to appear in immigration court. And most people, the vast majority who are in immigration proceedings, also have ICE check-ins. There's monitoring that goes on, and ICE meets with them periodically and makes sure that we know their address, et cetera. Some people even get ankle monitors put on them.
Right.
I would argue that those are overutilized, but like, let's say someone could potentially be a flight risk. Well, they could have an ankle monitor, for example. But no, these people are in very loud and splashy ways being detained. And I would venture to guess that ICE likes it when people video and these things go viral. In fact, there was an executive order telling ICE to wear their clear gear for video opportunities in one of the presidential memos that went out. And then they go into these detention centers that the one stateside are privately run. They have shareholders and people getting rich off this stuff. And then there's the Venezuelans who are going to El Salvador. And that is another pocket of racism that has kind of surprised me. I mean, it's all been surprising to me, but like the Palestine stuff, I can sort of make sense of why a racist person would do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the Venezuelan targeting in particular, that's one that has perplexed me a little bit. Like, why Venezuelans themselves? Is it probably because there are more of them coming? And it's easy to make it look like there's an invasion of Venezuelans and therefore scare people and therefore get the support of these human rights abuses that the administration is doing. But I haven't really been able to make sense of like why the Venezuelans in particular.
Right. And I also think it is because you've got Marco Rubio, State Department head, who has, long said that Venezuela is a socialist country and screw Nicolas Maduro and everything's terrible there. And, in his family's country, Cuba, the same, kinds of characterizations applied. And, we welcome Cuban immigrants with open arms. And so if you're applying that to another socialist country like Venezuela, wouldn't that follow? And honestly, up until a couple of years ago, it really was this. And I think the other thing to note is there's also a lot of Chinese people living in this country without documentation. And I can only imagine, had Trump 2.0 and COVID-19 happened at the same time, we would have been seeing a massive forcible removal, detentions. Who knows of Chinese people living in this country without documents? It's just who's the flavor of racist we want to turn on. And hey, we're only 85 days, 6 days into this. Give them time to turn on the anti-Asian racist or hit that button, because they will. And they'll find some reason to do it.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.